inside, yet they have poor people living on sidewalks. Again, a shame on the mayor London Breed and our folks who are hoarding those control.
They're vacant upstairs. Hundreds. And all they have is 2 floors open, and they're refusing to admit that it's also pressure from the hotel council, from the wealth hoarders, from the 1% who is not releasing these rooms to folks who are on the street. This is an absolute crime. And then the police officer is going to tell me, oh, it's a crime for you to come and sit down in a room that's vacant. I'm like, how is that a crime? It's like going to a restaurant and not paying for a bill. I said, really? No, what the crime is that there's people sleeping on the street who are dying in a global pandemic, and spaces like this refuse to release these hoarded hotel rooms. That's the crime. The crime is that kind of elitism and that kind of destruction. And now they're coming with more police officers. All of us are poor people. We can't get arrested. We're not trying to get arrested. We're coming in.
Always peacefully saying, open up some of these rooms for poor folks who are living on the streets can have some shelter in this pandemic.
An army here to guard empty rooms. That's American capitalism for you. An army to guard empty rooms when people are on the street dying. This is an absolute. The crime is this hotel and all the other hotels who are enabling that. I don't know if it's London Breed. I don't know if it's the hotel council. But our gut is it's the tourism industry. There's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they do not want houseless folks sleeping in their rooms, so they're intentionally hoarding them. This is not an accident.
All of these police officers can be saving lives, and instead they're guarding privatized institutions like hotels just for the money, to prevent houseless people and poor people from actually staying in these places to live, to survive.
Hello.
Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you so much for being here and support. We went in the hotel just to give a quick review. We went in the hotel and we tried to occupy one of the rooms and we were kicked out. Listen carefully.
la raza no nos dijeron que no podíamos tener ese sillón, nos iban a arrestar y dijimos que estaba bien, por eso salimos aquí, pero como ven ahorita siguen en la puerta, no sé para qué, para que no entre nadie, de todas maneras no tienen gente. La gente se sigue moviendo en la calle.
I just want to say we're standing outside of one of the largest hotels in San Francisco. This is occupied Loni LaShawn land, the village of Yalamu. And this hotel that we just went in and tried to stay in said, you can't stay here, you have to get permission from the mayor. Well, all of us folks know that the mayor refuses to release these rooms, that the Board of Supervisors actually voted unanimously to release 8,000 or 7,000 rooms in San Francisco, and the mayor refuses and is parsing out little tiny bits of rooms while people are dying on the street.
Speak
As
on
a
it.
houseless and formerly houseless group at Poor Magazine, this is a crime. He said to me upstairs, it's a crime to sit here and not leave. I said, really? The crime is that people are dying on the street when you have hundreds of rooms for people to sleep. Hundreds.
Thank you.
And across the city, we have thousands. And across the United States, we have thousands. And yet people die on the street from
All
the
of this,
pandemic.
all of this could be houses for houseless
COVID-19
people.
is no joke. How do you shelter in place when you don't have a place?
Amen. Thank
How
you.
do you shelter in place and stay safe when you don't have a place? There are people still being swept by the mayoral administration because that's how this mayor moves. Criminalizing the bodies of unhoused people and continuing to steal their tents and belongings. You can't even stop if your house is in the Mission District. Shouts out to our folks in Los Angeles. This is the same down there under their mayoral administration. Sister Audrey or Sister Pearl, do you want to speak a little bit?
This really is a crime. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've never been to jail.
Thank you, Cecilia.
My children have
Thank
straight
you.
A's.
Thank you, everybody.
And at the end of the day, I've done my part. So I need you to do your part. This is illegal.
They're
This is a
protecting all of
sin.
this.
The fact that you all will be willing to stand and protect a building that does not have life or breath it's an abomination. And so what you need to do is actually open up this hotel so that the people in this very community
Thank you.
will have the opportunity to have a safe haven. We already know that by us being out on the streets that we are supposed to be quarantined. So being in the inside is now a law. So you are actually breaking a law by not allowing the people and the citizens of this community that we have voted you in. We pay your paychecks. Hello, somebody. So it is your responsibility. You have an oath. Regulations and things are supposed to be happening right now, and it's not.
Thank you so much, everybody's here. This is powerful. We need to send this message.
This many police for a group that just is asking for a room and not do anything with the people living on the street. How is it that the mayor can buy
Thank you.
housing for first responders that's not even being used? Hotel rooms are not even being used. Already paid the bill and let those rooms stay vacant. How is it that just blocks away you can let the containment zone contain our brothers and sisters and let them die? You got blood on your hands. You better tell fucking read all about it. Because we are angry and we want to see people live. We don't want to see them die.
Thank
You
you.
get it? You get it? A little compassion from the mayor, please. This is a pandemic, people are dying. So she was the first to shelter in place. Now what's she gonna do? She led the fucking country, and now what's she doing? Show them the way to death? Show them the way to the cemetery? Walking to you, you wanna suicide? this is some tears. Open up your heart. What's up with Let It Bleed? When Mary Lee was a moderator, she got on the mic and she said, "Welcome to the People's Palace." Oh yeah, what is this? The People's Graveyard? We got hella homeless people out on the street right now. What you gonna do? Protectors! You are our protectors! We respect you! Now you have respect for life, please! Tell Mayor Breen, what's up? What has she done for this city lately? What has she done for the people? Each one reach one, teach one.
I'm here supporting my carnal Israel, myself, Muteado, and all the poverty folks. Again, with these gatekeepers, I know you guys gonna be happy going back to Livermore and Fremont with your families and protecting the rich and the powerful. Yes, ourselves want to protect our families too. Houseless folks on the streets want to protect their families too on this pandemic. But we know how they treat our poverty folks. Again, we, Poor Magazine, coming out of poverty, still living through poverty, trying to survive this pandemic. But the powers will be protect and keep protecting the rich behind these Golden Gate and Marriott. Shame on them.
Shame on them!
But that's why this is important, and we're going to be pushing to the Mayor Green and all these politician gangsters. They're also in cahoots with some of these corporations like the Marriott, the Hilton. We know what's up. That's why they don't open these rooms. But again, we demand that in these times where all of us as human beings need protection, need shelter, they open up these empty hotel rooms. Right? And if it's a money thing, why isn't the politicians paying for these goddamn rooms so our folks can stay in here? So they can be protected, so they can be safe, just like all of us want to be safe and keep our families safe. So shame on the Marriott, shame on the Hilton, shame on the Mayor Bree and all the folks who are keeping and hoarding these hotel rooms. And thank you for the folks who came out, took time out of their life. Because other people's lives matter too. Not because I got my job, I got my job, and fuck everybody else mentality that America has taught us. From kindergarten, from elementary, from middle school, high school, and college.
We're going to read these demands as our last thing here. Audrey, can you start at the first one?
House. Release at least 8,000 vacant motels and hotel rooms for unhoused San Francisco residents to inhabit until the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic, who are currently unable to safely shelter in place because they have no place.
Provide free storage for houseless people's belongings while they are in rooms. Treat all houseless persons with respect and don't jail their belongings or turn the hotel rooms into soft jail cells.
Transfer. All right, he'll read the next one. Here, you got to get a little closer, hon.
Come on, keep moving.
Transition all houseless guests to permanent housing, not back on the street. And the termination of the shelter-in-place protocol are in the event housing is not available. Make unsaid public land sanctuary land for social distance tents and other temporary shelter.
Beautiful. Okay, Tibu, here, you take this one.
With access to voluntary harm reduction, mental health, and medical services.
provide hand washing stations and serviced bathrooms on every corner in San Francisco so us poor and houseless folks can take care of ourselves. Give ownership of a vacant hotel and or not truly affordable housing, aka the luxury housing, which lines these stolen streets, to indigenous, houseless, and poor people so we can steward our own solutions to homelessness, like homefulness.
Follow First Nations and unhoused people. Protocols of land use and unsale one or more of the luxury houses building in San Francisco for us by houseless and indigenous people permanent housing. These demands are created by poor, houseless, disabled, and indigenous youth and elders. At Poor Magazine, for more information, please do email poormag@gmail.com. Thank you.
Stop hoarding hotel rooms.
Yes!
Unsell Mama Earth.
Yes!
Homefulness, not homelessness. Stop sweeping us like we are trash. Housing is a cure.
It's a cure. Housing is 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 the cure. Housing is the cure. Housing is the cure. Housing is.
So again, we're standing outside, just for folks who might be tuning in or don't know what's up. We're standing outside of over basically 8,000 rooms that are being hoarded by the elite wealth hoarders of occupied Yalamu. This is nothing new. That's why they only build rich people housing and call it affordable. The reality is that we went in as Poor Magazine, as houseless and formerly houseless folks. We saw one of hundreds of rooms that were being locked up while people are dying on the street. And we sat down and said we're not leaving until the mayor pays for the hotel room of our houseless brothers and sisters like Senor Sandoval, the filmmaker from Mexico. The officer told me, if you do that, we will arrest you. He gave us a 1-minute warning. Because we're all poor people, have been to jail or have issues, we cannot get arrested. We have children, we're homeless, we're struggling to stay okay. So we left with a guard, an armed guard. And then this army showed up to actually guard empty rooms when people are dying on the street. That is the violence of this city and this mayoral administration, who we know was already got unanimous approval to open up these rooms, but he still refuses because we believe she's answering to the wealth hoarders, the 1%ers, the multi-billion-dollar corporations like the Marriott Corporation, which is literally all over the world stealing land and extracting people and creating rooms that people never get to stay in unless you are a wealth hoarder. She's answering to them while her own citizens, houseless and formerly houseless folks, are dying on the street. That's the crime! How do you shelter in place when you don't got a place?
Jesus.
Hello everybody. I refuse to speak English today, only to support the people that speak Spanish that they don't want it in the hotels. Pero today, ahora venimos a hacer esto para apoyar a toda la gente que está en las calles como yo.
So today we are here to support all the houseless people who are in the streets, live in the streets like myself.
Yo estuve aquí en las calles de San Francisco todavía sigo en las calles, pero poco a poco los van empujando a todos, especialmente a la mayoría de color black and brown, y eso pienso que no está bien porque hay bastantes lugares que están solos. Caminen en las calles y van a ver cuántos lugares están solos de renta y no los quieren rentar ni siquiera nosotros.
And again, me being on the streets, I witness how they doing black and brown folks literally put them in like concentration camps in areas where they are putting poor black and brown people, and it's unfair.
Ni aún así les quieren rentar en otros lugares. ¿Por qué no lo dan como este? Está tan grande que nomás den unos 2 pisos, que lo renten o que lo den.
And again, look at this big old building. All we need is 1 floor. They can even rent it. Again, work out a deal.
Eso es por lo que estamos haciendo esto, para que todos los personas del gobierno hagan caso y no nos estén corriendo así como lo están haciendo los policías que nos corrieron de allá arriba. Nos dijeron que si no...
Okay, and again, we are here. We don't want to be run over, just like they kicked us out when we were inside the hotel by the police.
Nos dijeron que si no nos salíamos nos iban a arrestar. Es lo único que saben hacer, arrestar a la gente, llevar a la cárcel y no hacen ni una sanción.
And they told us that they're going to arrest us. We know that that's the best thing they know how to do. Arrest people, arrest poor and black people.
Gracias por venir a soportarnos aquí, prensa pobre de Oakland, y vamos a estar haciendo esto hasta que el gobierno entienda. Gracias.
And I just thank you for supporting folks out here who came out there, and Poor Magazine, the folks who took the time to be here.
We're going to ask one of the doctors. These are doctors, folks, and you have an army there. Armies kill. Doctors heal. Armies kill. Doctors heal. Armies kill. Doctors heal. So we're going to ask one of the powerful doctors from Do No Harm, please speak.
It is unacceptable to us doctors here at UCSF, San Francisco, taking care of the people during this pandemic, that people are dying on the streets because they do not have housing. It is unacceptable to us that unhoused people have a much higher risk of contracting COVID and a much higher risk of dying if they get COVID. It is unacceptable that people do not have the capacity to shelter in place right now. That means they need a private room with a door to lock behind them and a private
Face
restroom
crack.
because excrement, feces that is currently being dropped in paper bags in public trash cans is not acceptable to the public health of the people. It's not acceptable to their dignity, and it's not acceptable to the people of San Francisco. It's putting us all at risk. So the gains that Mayor Green has gotten by acting so well at the beginning of this pandemic are being lost with how unacceptably she is behaving in the face of the laws that are put forward by the Board of Supervisors to house immediately all unhoused people in San Francisco. San Francisco's unhoused population is disproportionately living as black and brown. The racism that we are seeing occurring across our country with black and brown people dying disproportionately from this disease is being recreated again here in San Francisco, and that is unacceptable to us. We will no longer stand by and accept that our teachers like Ian Collier should die on the streets because he was not given adequate housing. We must insist and demand that we're not just going to heal people in the hospital to have them go out to a dysfunctional social structure when they leave the door and get sick and die on the streets of San Francisco. That is not acceptable. We say no more. Housing is a human right. Housing is the first step to helping people who are experiencing homelessness get their lives back together. Housing is the necessary first step we must take right now. Thank you.
Housing is the cure. 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 Housing is the cure.
We want to say that, again, to make sure that everybody understands and understands what's happening, an army is protecting vacant rooms. That is a classic and beautiful illustration of the priorities in capitalism. Humans are on the street dying in a global pandemic, and literally an armed guard army is literally saying you can't be here. We also have their trucks, you know, their armed guard trucks right down here staked out. Because God forbid, houseless people need a shelter. God forbid we take back a shelter. Oh my God, that would be a crime. Like the manager said to me, you can't do that. That's a crime. And we said, actually the crime is that you're letting people sleep on the street when you have room after room after room with sheets and beds and heat and bathrooms and running water. When me and Mom were on the street throughout my childhood, we could never wash our hands. Not sometimes, never. When I was home with my son again, similarly, we would have to go in and lie and pretend we were buying something to use the bathroom. And most of the time, they didn't let us use the bathroom. So talk about how you survive and how you keep yourself safe and how you socially distant and how you have a place to shelter in when you have no place. Housing is the cure! Housing is the cure!
Housing is the cure. Housing is the cure. Housing is the cure.
Housing is the cure!
Housing is the cure.
I just want to talk about this crime. This is actually devastating to me right now.
Again, I just want to feel so shameful. When we first got here, with my Home Magazine family, we came in there saying that we were part of a Mexican documentary film crew coming all the way from Mexico, that we had just arrived and then we needed a room for our crew. And somehow, when they heard about that we have money, that we had a budget, they opened up the doors. They said, oh yes, we got some rooms for you. And how many rooms do you need? And how many do you want? Right? But as soon as they found out that we were just poor folks with no goddamn money or credit, somehow we were not welcome there. Somehow they show us the door, somehow they call 3 or 4 patrol officers. Shame on capitalism and the hypocrisy and the cruel of how to treat houseless folks, poor folks. Again, we're right here standing without the houseless folks, con mi carnal, con todos los hermanos que están viviendo en las calles. Qué vergüenza, ¿verdad? Que en un país tan rico, ¿verdad? Que tengamos a los desamparados en una pandemia donde se ocupa tener un poquito de un lugar donde estar seguros. Así como estos policías, ¿verdad? Quieren tener a su familia, van a regresar a Livermore, a Fremont, ¿verdad? Cuidar a sus familias. También nosotros queremos cuidar y proteger a nuestras familias. Qué vergüenza en este país con tanto dinero.
We want to close up with a prayer because this is absolutely brutality and violence, and we can't let this capitalism define us. That's not who we are. So we would like to ask if folks can stand in a socially distanced circle, and then we close with a proper prayer and leave this hoarding and this violence. Because that's what it is. This is violence.
Yes.
This is violence. This is soft, capitalist violence that people get away with every day in this occupied land, just like the original genocide that First Nations people felt. There's no different. There's no different. And as a global pandemic, while it gets worse, like the police officer said to me, well, that's not our problem.
Well, we pay your salary to keep us protected. Let's all take a breath in as we breathe in life. And exhale.
Housing is the cure. 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 Housing is the cure.
Thank you, everybody. We tried. And that's all that we can do right now because we live in an aristocracy that values empty rooms and capitalist rights
Hi.
of man over humans. We're gonna, your magazine, we're gonna hold it down here with the army.
All right, we're gonna make our way down the street. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
I'm with Hoarded Hotel. So I want to
Housing!